And the race for domination in artificial intelligence was blown wide open after a low-cost Chinese artificial intelligence model overtook U.S. giants.
On Monday, the AI assistant DeepSeek surpassed U.S. rival ChatGPT in downloads from Apple's App Store, and it took just over 2 weeks to do that. President Trump called it a wake-up call for U.S. firms. The rise of DeepSeek has wiped $1 trillion from leading U.S. tech index, triggered predictions of turmoil for Silicon Valley. And the shares of Nvidia, a leading maker of the computer chips that power AI models, fell 17%, wiping nearly $600 billion of its market value. Google's parent company lost $100 billion and Microsoft lost $7 billion. Nvidia's fall was the biggest in U.S. stock market history.
Meanwhile, the meteoric rise invited some unwanted attention for DeepSeek. It was hit by outages on its website on Monday, with the company claiming it was targeted in large-scale malicious attacks on its services. DeepSeek temporarily limited its users' registrations, though existing users were able to log in as usual.
Little is known about the company behind DeepSeek. Developed by a Guangzhou-based startup, it was founded in May 2023 by Liang Wenfeng. However, it entered the U.S. market months only this year. It entered on the 10th of January, which was weeks earlier now, with its latest model, DeepSeek V3. It took just over 2 weeks for it to overthrow OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and other popular AI chatbots. DeepSeek has become the top-rated free application available on Apple's App Store in the U.S.
The company claims that they spent just under $6 million to bring DeepSeek V3 to life. The amount is nothing when compared with the billions U.S. tech giants have poured into AI. For example, Sam Altman-led OpenAI reportedly spent over $4 billion in 2024 on AI development.
DeepSeek is an open source model, and this means anyone can access the software's code, use it, change it, and if possible, make it even better. Now, the emergence of DeepSeek comes as US and China are locked over the control of the tech world. Recently, the United States imposed restrictions on certain computer chip-making equipment, software, and high-bandwidth memory chips.
U.S. President Donald Trump was quick to take note of the rise of DeepSeek. He said that DeepSeek should be a wake-up call for American industries, that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win. Trump said that the shock could also be positive for Silicon Valley by forcing it to innovate more cheaply. And to discuss more, we're now being joined by Adrian Mars. He is a tech journalist and is live with us from London. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hi there. Hi, Shivan. And yeah.
Right. And it's extremely interesting how, like, all these Chinese apps and AI is taking over. We know that they tried to ban TikTok, then we got Red Note for TikTok refugees, as they said, and now we've got AI DeepSeek. What do you have to say on this?
Well, yes, China has a huge amount of talent. It's got the it's got more graduates than the West, but they've given this away to the world. I think the reaction by the stock market is an overreaction. This will really benefit the open source world, and that includes Meta, who have open sourced their own AI model, so they're free to build on this. OpenAI, the producer of ChatGPT, they've said that although theirs is closed source at the moment, they in the future may open source it. So for those companies, it could be a huge benefit. Now, the big question is have they then overspent in this huge amount of infrastructure that's needed to run their models? They're running things by brute force rather than this incredibly algorithmically efficient, basically just very efficient model that doesn't need so much computing, which seems to be a result of not selling China the best chips. So it looks like that export ban has backfired. But if it's produced this and it gives everybody this technology to use, and most of it's open source, there is some secret source that we still don't know, but it should be enough to build on. this may boost the whole industry. And it may be that the people with all of the huge amounts of infrastructure are actually in a much better position, because that means that you can offer AI for a lot less. That opens a lot more use cases up. And it also maybe means you can do a lot more with this sort of approach and a lot of computing power.
Adrian, given the kind of competition that it has spurred, the kind of impact that it has already had on the US economy, the figures that we're seeing from all these tech giants, the way their stocks have tumbled, I wanted to understand from you, is this the new war? AI supremacy, the way it's driving geopolitics and economy, is this going to be the new war front?
Well, it remains to be seen whether all of these AI developments will actually lead to the massively disruptive technology that will change the world. At the moment, it hasn't. There's vast amounts being spent and people are using it, but it hasn't changed anything that dramatically. It hasn't been disruptive all that so far. And it could just be that these things are going to run into a bit of a brick wall at some point. There's fears, for instance, that we're running into the limits of how much information there is to train these models, and that may be a limiting factor. But reducing the cost of them should open up more uses, and doing it better than the others also opens up more uses. Yes, but I think that's still an open question. Nobody quite knows where all this is going yet.
Adrian, I also wanted to come in there. The impact that it is having, and we've seen the same question posed on human rights in terms of the two different AIs, and there were different answers which came in from ChatGPT and a different one which came in from DeepSeek. It also makes you question what kind of agenda or thought process it's going to inflict upon all the users. And as we can gauge, there are more and more users switching from ChatGPT towards DeepSeek, or at least that's what the figures indicate as of now on the US App Store as on itself. So what kind of impact will that have?
Well, if you ask it questions about Tiananmen Square or Taiwan, then it doesn't actually think about it. They're hard-coded responses. So they've been sort of pre-written, effectively, to come up with the right response. Now, if other people reuse that model, they will no doubt take out those hard-coded responses. Other Western models also have hard-coded things, so they want to stop you asking immoral questions. How do I rape somebody or commit a bank robbery and things? And actually, this model doesn't seem to be hard-coded for the moral stuff. From the tests I've seen so far, it will tell you how to rob a bank. But these aren't critical. Certainly, if you're using the stock, one that they're providing, then you will get, on some questions, as you would expect from China, because otherwise it frankly wouldn't be allowed, the Chinese, censored results. Whether it'll be more subtle than that, I don't think that's the case. So it doesn't seem to be skewed in terms of sort of how it thinks towards China. It's only where somebody has said, if it's asked this, just pretty well say that.
All right, Adrian. Thank you so much for joining us here on World DNA. Pleasure speaking with you. That was Adrian Mars joining us from London.